Ted, taking a beating.
Hey, I'm back with another video because I got the Sony A7S III, the one that I pre-ordered months ago, finally arrived. Super excited about it. I almost said super stoked about it. All right, I got to take this thing out for my lunch break the other day. Met up with my buddy Ted. Really great skateboarder, artist, and just an all-around great dude. We shot some really cool stuff, all 4K, all S-Log 3 Gamut 3 Cine with two different mics, the Rode Micro Pro and this Sony shotgun mic, the ECM B1M, great name. And we also shot with two different lenses. One of them is the 24mm prime Sony lens that I have on this A7S III that's shooting right now, and also my trusty 8 to 15mm Canon fisheye. So after we roll the reel of just what we were able to get, I'm gonna kind of do a little breakdown on the different looks and settings and microphones and lenses that I used, as well as just a quick little look into the color grading techniques that I used, super quick and dirty, to get the look out of this S-Log footage. So let's check out the footage and then we'll come back and do a little deep dive. All right. Alright, so that was what we were able to get in a short period of time. Now let's just do a quick comparison of the different settings on the camera, the different microphones, and the different lenses that I used.
This is 4K, 60, 10-bit.
So as I mentioned, I shot everything S-Log 3, and if you're not familiar with what S-Log is, it's a really flat color profile, and it gives you an expanded dynamic range, which gives you a lot of flexibility in post when you're doing color grading.
Okay, so now I switched it to 4K 120p, shutter speed of 250, so I got the double, and then still an S-Log 3 Gamut 3 Cine. About to switch it to S&Q mode 24p.
Okay, so this is shot with the S&Q mode, which is basically a really high frame rate that gives you a really clean slow-mo right out of the camera, but you don't get the audio.
And that was a feeble S&Q mode, 120 frames a second at 24p. Now I'm going to switch it up to 60p.
Okay, so this is also using the S&Q mode with a capture frame rate of 120, but the base frame rate is 60p. So that means this clip is playing at 50% straight out of camera. Whereas the other clip had the same capture rate of 120p, but it had a base frame rate of 24p, which means that the clip was playing at 20% speed straight out of camera.
4K All-Intra mode, 10-bit, 60p.
And lastly, this is the 4K All-Intra mode, which gives you a super high bit rate of 600, but it also gives you huge file sizes. This clip of Ted's tray flip was over a gig, all on its own. I probably won't be using this codec unless I absolutely need the highest bit rate, but I don't see that being very often. Alright, quickly plowing ahead here, let's just do a quick A-B comparison of the two microphones I used. The Sony shotgun mic, which uses the hot shoe on the camera, and the Rode Video Micro, which plugs into the jack on the camera. I'm going to keep this pretty quick. Maybe I'll do something more in depth on these mics later.
Sony shotgun mic. I switched mics from the Sony to the Rode Video Micro.
And let's also do a quick A/B comparison between the Canon 8 to 15mm fisheye that I normally use and this 24mm prime Sony lens that I actually have on the A7S III filming me right now, and just see how these look together. Again, we'll probably do something a little bit more in depth on these lenses later, but just wanted to give you a quick rundown on the stuff I used in this quick shoot. Alright, so we've gone over some settings on the camera, we've gone over some lenses, some microphones that I used. Last thing I want to do is just very quickly go over a couple techniques that you can use for grading log footage like this. Let's get into it. Trying to get paid, yeah. I don't got patience for real. Out in LA, MIA, dodging temptation. For real, skin girl, Sade, I'm not here to play. Oopsie. That was my 16-year-old dachshund Bogart. And that was actually the first thing I shot when I got this camera. I pulled it out of the box. He happened to be sitting on the couch. I couldn't rob you of that one. Alright, let's get into the color grading. Okay, first off, I'm going to go into my workspace that I created for color grading. And you see I have my clip of Ted here. And it looks real flat because that's how the log footage looks. I'm going to find my effect called Lumetri Color. You can type it into the search browser on the effects tab. I have it in my favorites right here, so I'm just going to double click it and it adds it on there. Boom, here it is, Lumetri Color. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the curves, open that up. I'm going to drag right here. I'm going to drag right there and give it a little S curve. Boom. And then you can click the effects button right up here, and that'll kind of give you a sense of what you've done so far. So you can already see this has already brought a lot of life back into the clip. Might even make it a little bit more dramatic. Really no wrong answers here. Kind of do it however you see fit, you know. And then I'm going to go up to basic correction. And here you got some basic things you can mess with, like exposure. And then you can mess with the saturation. All right, here we go. So yeah, that's super saturated. Probably go a little lower on that, honestly, maybe like 200. But honestly, those two things, the S curve and then just going into basic correction, you can use this white balance selector here, use the eyedropper, click on his shirt. Sometimes that works nicely, sometimes it doesn't. To me, this looks a little bit too warm, but then you can always just go to the temperature here, do it manually. Yeah, all right, that looks good. Now again, click this. You can see what we've done. We've given it life. Okay, and then the second technique I'm going to show you real quick is a paid technique, and this one's called Film Convert. I have Film Convert Pro and Film Convert Nitrate. We're going to use Nitrate here. Now, I'm also not sponsored by Film Convert. I'm not sponsored by Sony. I'm not sponsored by Rode, however you say it. I just like using these different products and figured I'd talk about them. Just wanted to say that. All right. Now in Film Convert, it's pretty cool because you can basically choose your camera. That went off screen there. A7S Mark III, S-Log 3, Gamut 3 Cine. Boom, apply it. And you can see up here, Sony A7S Mark III, S-Log 3, S Gamut 3 Cine. And it's already kind of given us a look, you know, this is really punchy, but not bad, you know. And then you can mess with the exposure, you can mess with the warmth with this slider, really go to town, you know. They've also added a curves adjustment thing like we saw over in the Lumetri effect that we were messing with, so you can play with that. It's real smooth and it's really responsive, so that's cool. All right, and then the other cool thing about this plugin is that you can mess around with different film stocks and really just go to town, you know. Do some black and white, all different things. Again, messing with the saturation. You know, there's so many things you can do with this, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, but really it's fun to play with, and I think if you give it a shot and just give it a little bit of time, you'll like it. And the other thing about this as well is that you can change the actual film size. So this is 35 millimeter. You can go to Super 8, and you can see added a bunch more grain. Probably a little bit too much for this, so I'm just gonna go back to Super 35. You can mess with the grain response here, and you can add grain to the dark elements, shadows. You can add more grain to the highlights. You see it's just kind of in the highlights and the clouds up here. You can really mess around with it and get a look that you like, but really fun to work with. As you can see here, this is, I'm gonna click this effect off. This is how our clip looked. This is it with the Lumetri effect that we put on it. And this is it with the Film Convert Nitrate. And you can get so many different looks by just messing around with either one of these that it's really kind of limitless. So that's pretty much it. So I'm no expert on color grading, but there are a lot of good videos on this online. I just wanted to give you a couple of the quick things that I like to do when I'm working with log footage. All right, that's it. I think I went over a decent amount, especially for such a short shoot. I'm really looking forward to doing more with this camera. I love it already, and I can't wait to do more with it. So if you have anything else you want to know about, anything else you want to learn, skate-wise, not skate-wise, whatever, let me know, and I'll try to make a video about it, because this is actually pretty fun. All right. Also, if you do enjoy the video, please hit that subscribe button and the notifications, because that would be real tight. I'd like to be your friend. Okay. Thank you, and have a great night.